Namaskar. Welcome back. So let's go ahead and begin our discussion on the fifth secret of success. And secret number 5 is having all around self-restraint and self-control. So there's many things to say about this topic. And I'm going to begin with something maybe you've heard. It's a famous study that I think has been referenced many times in different, I've seen it referenced in a few different books, and maybe I've even talked about it before here. It's the study that they did at Princeton University, where they took children and they wanted to test their self-control. And so they brought children into a room and they said to them, "Look, I have 2 marshmallows here for you. Look at these delicious marshmallows." And they said, "I'd love to give you both of these marshmallows, but I can only give you one right now. And if you can just kind of not eat it and just kind of control your desire to eat it, when I come back, I'll give you the second one." And so they would leave the room, and they had a camera in the room, and they were observing the children, what the children were doing in order to, fight off the temptation of just eating the marshmallow. And so some of the kids would pretend that they were sleeping. Some of them would pretend that they would not look at the marshmallow. They would start to sing. They would start to try to do whatever they could to distract themselves. And other kids, they just went for the marshmallow. They said, "Oh, I don't need to. I'll just take this one." My friends used to tell me that actually. I remember my friends even talking about this in high school. Like, if I gave you $20 now, would you promise not to spend it for a week if as a reward, I would give you another $5 at the end of that week? And some people say, "No, I would just spend it. I don't need the extra 5. Others would say, "Yeah, I could probably do that. Just save it, and then I'll get an extra 5. I'll have 25. So what they found was that they went back and looked at these children later in life when they were teenagers. And they found that the children that had the self-restraint, the self-control, they were doing better in all areas of life. They were doing better academically. They had a higher sense of self-esteem. They were not involved in like any sort of drugs or substances. Whereas the other kids that just went for the marshmallow, in those areas, in the same areas, they were not as proficient and had issues with depression and all around were kind of struggling compared to the other ones. So it says something about willpower, about self-restraint, about temperance, and it shows that sometimes what happens is that when we don't have a sense of self-restraint, it could be because actually we don't feel secure. We don't feel like we have things kind of, figured out or stabilized. And so we often will just want to reach out and just try anything and do anything to sometimes fill a hole, fill an abyss. We see that in people who perhaps overeat, people who turn to substances, have different types of addictions. You know, for example, people that have an addiction to video games. There's a lot of young people that do. And as they are addicted to the video game, they know that it's been an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. And they know, God, today I spent the whole day playing the game. And though they know they're doing that and they don't want to do that, they don't have enough self-control to stop. So it could be because there's something lacking in their life, something missing in their life. You know, maybe they don't have the right social context in their life. Maybe they don't have the right support. So sometimes the lack of self-control and self-restraint is a symptom of a bigger problem. And that's important to explore. And today, I won't go too much more deeply into that, but it's important to recognize. I want to share with you another story to illustrate the power, the beauty of self-restraint. And then we'll talk about some strategies for how to develop more self-control, more self-restraint. There's a story by Tagore, the famous Indian mystic and poet and scholar. He wrote a story about Upagupta. Upagupta was a Buddhist monk. And he tells the story of him that one night in the town of, I forget the name of the town in India, Upagupta was sleeping just on the earth. He was an ascetic monk. And as he was sleeping on the earth, he heard somebody came to see him. And he heard the tinkles of bells moving from the ankle of this woman, beautiful girl. And she was the dancing girl. And she was sort of kind of, intoxicated with the wine of her youth, so to speak. And she wakes Upagupta up and she says, "Young monk, the earth here, the dirt is not a fit bed for you. Come to my home. Come to my home and stay with me." And Upagupta looked at her and he says, "Sister," he says, "go on your way. When the time is right, I will come to you." And, not everybody refuses the dancing girl, her beautiful charms. So she leaves, and some time passes. And one day, Upagupta was walking through the town, and the plague had hit the town. And he sees on the side of the road the dancing girl. And she's covered with the disease. Her skin has succumbed to it. She's bruised, she's dirty, she's sick. And she sees her and he goes to her and he, picks her up, takes her to shelter, and he starts nursing her wounds. Starts cleaning her face, nursing the wounds, putting ointment and balm, starts wetting her lips with water, helping her come back to consciousness. And when she does, she says, Who are you? And he says, I am Upagupta. You see, I told you that I would come to you when the time was right. And here I am. And so she, obviously was elated that he kept her promise and just kept his promise, and was amazed because actually the whole town had abandoned her, had discarded her, basically used her for their pleasure. And now when she needs it the most, is not there for her. But he was. So the story illustrates the beauty of self-restraint. Also, the importance of, in this case, he would rather be of service just in general, right? I mean, obviously he was a monk. He couldn't break his monastic vows to be with her. But in the relationship, he still finds a way. In the relationship, he still finds a way to do service for her. So there's many beautiful qualities to the story. It's kind of like what you interpret out of it. But definitely self-restraint is the key theme, and the good that came out of that act of self-restraint. So I can kind of pause here, and I can pause here and just see if there's any comments right now in the chats. I'm looking over at YouTube. I'm looking over at Facebook. Hitendra has joined. So has Martha from Guatemala. That's awesome. Thanks for joining, Martha. Bienvenida. Tenemos ahora mucha gente aquí de Latinoamérica, de El Salvador, de Colombia. Let's see if there's any comments at this point. I can just kind of pause before going into some strategies. There's a couple of strategies that I would like to discuss. One of them is a yogic one. I have a video on YouTube called The Chariot and the Charioteer. It's a famous analogy about self-control that comes from the Bhagavad Gita. So in this analogy, you have a chariot with 5 horses. You have a charioteer. And the charioteer is trying to control the chariot, control the horses, and he has the reins that are pulling at the horses to control them. So in this analogy, the 5 horses are like the 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, smell, touch. And they can also represent our organs, the sensory organs, our stomach, our eyes, our ears, our hands, the genitals. So these 5 horses, if the charioteer doesn't have enough strength to harness them, to harness the chariot, the horses will go wherever they want. The charioteer may be wanting to get from point A to point B, but if the horses are not controlled, the horses will go anywhere but there. If the charioteer is weak, if his reins are weak, he can't control the horses. So in many ways, we are also driven at the whim sometimes of our 5 senses, of our organs. Let's say one day I'm driving to do a particular task somewhere. Let's say I'm actually, I have to go and help a friend move. On the way to help my friend move, I see that there's a sale. Today only 50, 60% off at this store that I like, that I'm interested in. I'm just gonna, well, let me just stop. Let me just drive there. I'm gonna park. I'm gonna go inside and I'm gonna shop. And, 10, 15 minutes only. And then 15 minutes turns to a half an hour, to an hour, to 2 hours, and now I'm late to go meet my friend. Now I'm hungry, etc. And so that's just a small example of how our sense of sight, that we see something we like, we want to go toward it without properly discerning if that's the right thing to do or not. But we go at the whim of our eyesight, at the whim of our desire. And like that, our senses and our organs are constantly just taking us every which way, every which way. How many times do we have something that we're content with, like, even we're comparing our children to other children, we're comparing our partner to other people, driven by the external allurements of the world. Our senses are the ones that get caught up in that. And so back to the analogy, the horses are like the five senses or the organs. And the charioteer is like the self, like your consciousness, the mind. Or we could say the charioteer is like the self. And then the reins that control the horses is like an aspect of the mind. Like in the Anahata chakra, there is the vritti, the propensity of viveka. Viveka means discernment. So when I can't properly discern, should I go to my friend's house to help my friend move, or should I stop to go here and look at these items? When you can't discern properly, then your viveka is imbalanced. So, that's why working the heart chakra is very important for many reasons, but one of them is it helps you to have proper discernment. When you have proper discernment, you can control your mind. You know not to go at the whim of the senses and the organs. And it's very important to also clarify that you don't want to destroy your senses. You don't want to destroy your organs. Like sometimes, if you may have seen images of sadhus in India, these sadhus who are ascetic kind of wanderers. So, I've seen things where they're mutilating themselves, mutilating, let's say, if it's a man, mutilating his genital organ as a way to, learn to control his physical desires, sexual desires. Imagine if it's so that you can avoid not being attracted to other people. Like, let's say you're a monk and you cannot, have relationships with people. Then what are you going to sew your eyes shut so that you don't see the beauty of another person, a physical beauty of another person? That would be ridiculous. So we're not supposed to mutilate, shut down the organs or our senses. We just have to build, it's like a muscle, build proper discernment. And that brings us to willpower, to have proper willpower, which is, a whole other topic. I see here some comments. Let's see if here I see Gaia says, yes, it isn't very easy. I have tried to be breatharian, but I have not been yet. Control the five horses is not very easy. Walking in a marketplace, it's not easy to go straight forward to your destination. Yeah. Right, right. Um, yeah, like when you go to the supermarket, um, a lot of times you buy things that you don't want, you don't need. In fact, supermarkets, they have a way to trick you. When you go into a supermarket in the United States, the first thing you see are the vegetables, all the healthy stuff. So they make sure that you first buy the healthy stuff so that then later on as you proceed, and then even when you get to the checkout, they put all the unhealthy stuff by the checkout. Chocolates, candy, sugar drinks. And so the psychology there is that by the time you've done the whole shopping and you've bought the healthy stuff first, now you'll be willing to indulge in the unhealthy stuff. So actually, they're setting you up for that. And the way to avoid that is you have to have self-control. Oh, there's those Reese's Pieces I like. Not today. I have a friend who makes a joke. She says, "Not today, Satan." Not today, Satan. So, not today, my temptations. So, so in that point, then yes, the organs want that chocolate. The organs want that. Your stomach would love to have that because each of your organs have their own dharma. Your stomach was made to process food. So what is it going to do? It's going to want as much food as it can get from you. Your, your, well, your tongue is made to taste. That's what it's for. It has a dharma. It's its natural quality. So what is it going to want from you? It's going to want to taste as much as possible, as much as it can. It's going to pull you toward that. Same thing with the sexual organs. The sexual organs, what do they want to do? They want to have sex. They want to procreate or just feel the pleasure of having sex. And they're going to pull you in that direction too, in moments you least expect. So we have to learn to control and say, who's in charge here of this physical body? Is it me or is it my stomach? Is it me or is it my tongue and the other organs? Now, it's easy. It's easy to say that and, tell people, hey, you don't have any self-control. Come on, get on the ball. Come on, just control your senses, like the talk that I just gave. But it's not that easy. It's not that easy at all. How many of us have things we would love to break, habits that we've built that we'd love to break, like procrastination, like overeating, like maybe, let's say, smoking, drinking, not exercising, many habits that we'd love to break. But we can't seem to get out of the habit. It's just hard. Nothing works. So, I'd like to apply a strategy for that. I'm just looking here at Christina's comments. This is good. Christina, let's read what Christina said on YouTube. She says, I find that visualization works well for me while practicing self-restraint. I like to think about my goals and those of my family line. Sometimes I use that and it helps me to accomplish tasks when I don't want to be in that moment. Okay, great. Yes, Christina, this is a scientifically proven method to help us with self-control. That is, to either do some self-talk or do some visualization. So one of the things to do is to observe our behavior. of an unwanted thing that we may be addicted to. Let's say that it is smoking. So people who smoke sometimes smoke habitually. They're not observing their habit. They're not observing what they do. They just are the habit. They just do the habit. So they don't have necessarily cravings consciously for it. They just smoke regularly. But what they should do is they should monitor their habits and observe how they feel before they smoke, and observe if they have any cravings for smoking, even before they try to cut the habit. That goes with anything that you want to do. Let's say you want to use less social media. Observe how you start using social media. Do you crave social media? Do you start thinking about it? Start to notice, and you're going to notice that you have cravings. And when you notice those, use a little self-talk and say something like, I noticed the fact that, let's say I want to have a cigarette. I noticed the fact that I'm craving to have a cigarette. When you start to say that every time, I notice the fact that, again, I'm procrastinating. I notice the fact now the thing itself doesn't seem so scary, doesn't seem so ugly. And it almost feels like, and what you regain in that moment is a little control. I'm in control. I'm noticing that this is happening. And that is like a muscle that you exercise. The muscle of willpower, the muscle of self-control. The more you practice this concentrated thinking, you're going to make that thing that you're thinking stronger. And you're going to make your discernment stronger by way of your acknowledgement of the right actions that you want to take. So I definitely invite you to try that. Make that a habit, to do some self-talk. And start there. We're going to waste time judging ourselves. We're going to waste time feeling like what society calls us, when we're not on par with things, losers. So those things is also step one. Get rid of the shame. Get rid of the shame that comes with a lack of self-restraint or a lack of self-control. Toss that to the side. You have to discard it, offer it to the Supreme. And learn to observe what you do, learn to notice what you do, and talk to yourself as you do it. You'll be able to talk yourself out of it too. The more you do that, you're strengthening willpower. I notice, again, I am thinking about something I'm not supposed to. I notice again, I have an urge to cheat on my spouse, let's say. I mean, anything. If you start there, the acknowledgement, it helps and it helps to remove the shame, to deal with the gigantic problem that seems unbeatable. So I'm just kind of repeating myself right now. But I'd like to know if there's any other comments. Let's see now if there's some more comments. Gaia says, maybe when we are in charge of it, we cannot enjoy it fully, so we cannot stay in charge of our life all the time. That's interesting. So when we regain some control over something we don't want to do, then we don't enjoy it fully. That's kind of what I'm hearing you say there. I think that's partly what happens, yes, when you start to acknowledge the cravings that you have to do the things that you don't want to do, which is, like I said, step one toward self-restraint, becoming aware, and then trying to take control. How can we enjoy and be in charge in the meantime? I think that has to do with throwing out the shame, getting rid of the shame for the things that the habits that we've built. Now, one helpful tip I hope I'll share from my life. Willpower, which I think is combined with this topic, willpower is a muscle that has to be developed, built, and strengthened. Willpower can work in different ways in your life too, and you might have a different stamina of willpower depending on the different activity. So I'll give you a little thing from my life. So recently in my life, I've taken up a new dietary regimen. Recently, I decided to stop eating in the evening, like, or eat very less, or just have liquids. So maybe just take like a smoothie or something at night. So this is a choice that I've made, and I've been enjoying this. It's been working for me. But let's say that this activity would be helpful to somebody else. It would be very difficult for somebody to just start doing that overnight. And when I say this, I'm not prescribing this to you at all. This is just something that I'm doing for myself. So I'd like to talk about how I got to this point of being able to do something like this. Because I've analyzed it, and I think it has a long trajectory. So it all starts with the fact that when I was 14, I decided to become vegetarian. That was a big change. Nobody I knew was vegetarian, but I decided to become vegetarian. And I was a vegetarian for a few years, right? After that, and a few years after that, I decided to take up the Satwik Diet. Means no onion, no garlic, no mushrooms, no eggs, obviously no meat. And yes, these foods in particular. So, having gone from let's say just a normal diet where there's no rules to a Satwik diet, it's a huge step. It was a stepping stone to first be vegetarian. And then throughout my years of yogic life, I've often practiced fasting twice a month. No food for a whole day, no water. I haven't done this twice a month every month of my life since I became a yogi 20 years ago, but very often. But often. So, you see, there was also stepping stones to get there. I mean, I already practiced self-restraint with not eating meat, and then with having the Satwik diet, and so now I could practice fasting. The more I fasted, the more I got used to it. I felt the benefits, so it motivated me to continue. And so now, where am I now? I am at the point where now in the evenings I eat less. And I really believe that it's because of my history of having learned to withdraw from food, to not be so attached. And I've developed willpower in that area. So I say that to say that whatever you want to accomplish, sometimes it cannot be done overnight, and it can best be done in incremental fashions. Okay? So don't judge yourself, because suddenly you can't start going to the gym every day. That's not going to happen because you don't have that habit, you don't have that history. Slowly, little by little, you'll get there. As far as that, just go for the gym. Just go to the gym for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes in the days that you want to go. If you want to go every other day, then go every other day. Just 10 minutes. You're going to build up to a certain point where now you're going for 20 minutes. And then one day, before you know it, you build up that you go for the full hour session. And you do the full workout you've always dreamed you wanted to do. But nobody likes going to the gym and just looking at other buff and beautiful people working out. and you're just standing there not knowing what to do, nobody likes that. Of course, you're going to not come back, even though you'll feel ashamed because you really do want to come back. But if you just go for 10 minutes, you're going to start building something, and you'll start to have control. The self-control will be easier to take care of your body, shape your body nicely in the way that you like by exercising. Okay, so let's see, a couple more points. I want to check over on Facebook. Jefferson, the number one habit of successful people is doing what they don't want first. That's tough, Hitendra. That's tough. You know, because not everybody can do that. But take his point into consideration. Try that. Next time you have a to-do list, do the things you don't want to do first. See what that does for you. Might make the other tasks easier. And Christina says, sometimes we can learn to enjoy the feeling of slight discomfort as an example. I also sometimes take small foods, no food, liquid in the evenings, and I kind of like the feeling of hunger in the morning because it reminds me of the goal and helps me appreciate my food more. Yeah, that's the other thing. The self-restraint, you know, the senses get saturated. You know, the senses get saturated. So it's good to, you know, don't eat sweets. If you eat sweets every day, you know, after a while, you don't even really notice. How can you value that delicious cake anymore if you're eating the cakes every day? So a little bit of self-restraint helps you to also appreciate things more when you do them, you know, a little not so often. The novelty comes back. So thank you so much. One last comment here. Gaia says, willpower is an intention, and we are intense. We are tense, not easy. When we relax, we are lax, lazy. How can relaxation and the intensity in the same time undo the thing in life? How can we have relaxation and intensity? That's a good point. I think we can have relaxation by not judging ourselves. And then having intensity by trying to get to work and regain some control. I hope that helps in answering that. Because I think what you're trying to say is how can we do things and not be lazy? Or no, how can we do things but also be relaxed? Sorry. So I think the relaxation comes when you take the pressure off yourself for not being perfect. You know, Tantra is the movement toward perfection. It is not perfection on the start, at the start. Tantra is the movement toward perfection. So we're always in that flow toward our highest selves. Once we are in this tantric journey, we're practicing Ishvara Pranidhana, which is the niyama, the principle of accelerating toward the supreme goal. When we start meditating, repeating our mantra, etc. Okay. All right, so let me pause there. I'm going to pause all the comments now regarding that there. And I want to ask you now to join me in honoring one of our community members. And we're going to close today by doing that. So please stick around and join me as we honor our sister, Peggy. Congratulations to Peggy. She is now a Vistara Circle Sadhaka. She has been in Vistara Circle for 2 years. 2 years, and completed the program successfully. And we had our advancement interview also just recently. So Peggy, if you're here, congratulations. Thank you so much for being in our community, being a wonderful example. Also, she's a sponsor of our community. Her, it was so wonderful to meet at the retreat and to have been in this relationship with you, all of us in this relationship with you for these last 2 years. Thank you, Peggy. Yes, let's put some hearts in the chat and send them toward Peggy because actually, this seems like the end of something, but she knows because we talk about it at the advancement interview, hence the word advancement. This is just the beginning of something new, something else for her. Okay, so let's send all the love and light that we have. Please put your hearts in the chat to honor Peggy. And thank you so much for doing that. I see Karen has put a lot of beautiful hearts. That's wonderful. And Peggy, if you're here, also let us know. I see Anushila there has sent some hearts. I'd like to dedicate a song, which maybe now will be sort of customary toward one of the songs that are customary for this special occasion of honoring this important milestone of Peggy. Okay, her completing our program. So, hang on one second, folks. Let me make sure my setup is stable. Okay, I'm gonna have to leave it there. Hang on one second. Okay. So Peggy, this song is for you. It is a song written by the amazing Mr. Rogers. And I think that it's fitting for how we feel about each other here at Vistara Circle. Okay. Hang on one second, please. Okay. It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now, way down deep inside you. Not the things that hide you, not your toys, they're just beside you. But it's you I like. Every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, you yourself, it's you. It's you I like. But it's you I like. Every part of you, Your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, you yourself, it's you. It's you I like. Namaskar, Peggy. Namaskar, and thank you, and congratulations. And remember that I love you so much, and everybody here, I think, feels the same way. Look at those beautiful hearts. Christina says, well, she sent her hearts. Congratulations, Peggy. You're wonderful. Jamila says, congratulations, Peggy. Peggy says, it's been an amazing 2 years. Yes, it has. It definitely has. Life is so beautiful. Life is beautiful when we find our tribe. It makes such a big difference. So Karen Campbell sending her hearts. Jefferson sending beautiful hearts. Jennifer as well. So, and here Ritva too. Karen. Peggy says it's been an amazing 2 years. Again on Zoom. Okay, great. Well, it's just the beginning. It's really just the beginning of something new. Okay? All right, everybody. Thank you so much for our session today. I look forward to seeing you next Saturday. Don't forget to check out our other online meditations at Vistara Circle. Just go to vistaracircle.com for that schedule. Namaskar. Take care. I'll see you all next week.